So, you want to be a real estate investor, but where do you start? How do you know what information and sources to trust? That's where I come in. I'm Jonny Cattani, and this is the Investor Relations Real Estate Podcast. Hey guys, real quick, before we start, go to investwithcattani.com and download my free ebook, Is Commercial Real Estate Recession Proof? Now to today's show. What's up, guys? Happy Friday, TGIF. Welcome to another episode of Friday Follow-Up here on the Investor Relations Real Estate Podcast. I am your host, Jonny Cattani. And if you're following along, today is actually Thursday. Of course, you are listening on Friday, but I'm recording this on Thursday. If you have not been listening, last week I admitted that I forgot to record the Friday follow-up on Thursday, which I typically do. And it was actually recorded on Friday morning. And thank you to my amazing producer, April. She was able to get it edited and out by Friday afternoon, which was awesome. But this time you will be listening, hopefully on Friday morning. It should be out on time. So progress, right? Which actually kind of leads me into something I wanted to chat about today, which is, well, a few things. One of them being discipline. If you're like me, you never were really taught discipline. And I don't mean discipline in like, you were punished as a kid. I mean discipline in, finishing something that you start, or work ethic and hard work and doing things even when you don't want to do them. I unfortunately was not really taught those things as a kid, and have had to teach myself over the years all of these things through books, through therapy, through, just sheer wanting to accomplish goals. I, have had to teach myself, and I've never been a quitter. That's one thing I can say. I've never been a quitter in the sense of, I've never quit a team, never, just quit something without seeing it through, right? I have quit jobs, which I hated those jobs. So, but I stayed there for a while, right? And really made sure that I hated it before I left it. Turns out I'm a terrible W-2 employee. I think I've talked about that before, but really the big thing is, I've really been trying to implement discipline, and I've been watching and learning some of the top entrepreneurs and just top people in, sort of my dream 100, and what their discipline is like, all the way down to their morning routine. So one thing I've learned recently is setting your alarm for a random time and setting with intention. So my alarm goes off at 5:37 a.m. I know, very random, 5:37, and it goes off, and I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom, wake up, get out of bed, chug some water, and immediately take a cold shower, which, let me tell you guys, if you are already doing this, you know how awful that first probably 5 seconds to 10 seconds of a cold shower is. And I'm not talking like, room temperature, or I'm talking like cold. Like, I make sure this thing is frigid before I get in. And, you get in, obviously start your breathing, focus on controlling your breathing. Your brain goes absolutely haywire. I mean, you're talking, barely awake, maybe half asleep. I'm certainly getting better to the point where I'm actually pretty well awake. But your brain just goes haywire. And, you can't really think, at least for me, I'm not really thinking thoughts. I'm just, trying to like focus and have control of my breathing. But what it does is and I was having this conversation with a good friend last week, is it's not really the act of doing it, right? It's kind of the principle behind it, where it basically sets me up so that throughout the day, when tasks come up that I don't really want to do, I've now taught myself that I can push through that sort of initial thought of, oh, I don't really want to do this, and get to where, okay, I know I have to do this because this is, one step towards whatever it is I want to accomplish, right? In this case, I'm really, really, really working hard towards my first deal. I mean, you guys, getting your first deal done is like, they tell you it's hard and how difficult it is, but holy crap, you guys, it is so hard. And it's not for lack of trying. You guys, I, through the podcast, have met people, and, I don't want to just go do any deal for my first deal, right? I want to make sure this is a good deal, because my first deal, the value that I can add right now, thanks to Raise Masters, is capital raising. I've been slowly building a network of course, right now it's my close personal network of people who are ready, or, at least have told me they're ready to invest. And I'm not just going to take them to any deal, because one, my investors will always come first, whether it's my dad or it's someone I've never met before. They will always come first, and I won't take them to any deal that I myself wouldn't invest in. So right there, right, I'm not going to invest alongside them in any deal just to get a deal. But, it just takes a while. But thanks to Raise Masters, the value that I can add is capital. And most people need capital for their deals. Not every operator, right? A lot of people can do it in-house, but every once in a while, someone will reach out. But really the biggest struggle is that it takes a while to get going, in the sense that if you called me today and said, hey, I got a deal that closes in a month and we need $1 million, can you raise? No, I can't, unfortunately. I'm not to the point where I can do that yet. So you really have to find deals where, you have a 3-month runway, potentially longer, almost like an evergreen sort of thing where, they just barely did the underwriting and are, or they've submitted the LOI, or it just got accepted, right? And they're just starting their due diligence, right? Which is typically going to be 60 to 90 days, 45, 60 days, right? That kind of runway. Okay. But right now, by putting my name out there and talking to people, it's still not to that point where I'm finding that, and deals are coming sort of last minute, and just too much pressure, right? Because I have a vetting process for the people I want to raise money for, right? I have a big, long checklist of all the questions I need answered. And some of them are answered by my own research. Some of them are answered by them, right? So one is a background check, right? I'm going to do a background check on the business. I'm going to make sure that every single one of their deals they say is theirs really has their name on it. I want to go meet them in person. I want to meet the team. I want to see the deal. So there's this big, long process that goes along with it, so that I'm not, just raising money for any deal last minute. Now, of course, once I go through this whole process for an operator, now I've vetted that operator, and, now I can just raise money for their deals without, having to go through that whole process every time. But, there's a lot of work that goes into this, and it takes a long time. And one thing that's really helped a ton is this podcast, right? Meeting people, letting them know what my goals are, seeing what their goals are, maybe how I can add value to them, right? That's the biggest shift that I've taken in the last year, especially the last 6 months, is no longer, and I'll even admit this, when I first got into the podcast, it was truly just for me. And it's truly shifted to, how can I add value to my guests? How can I add value to you, the listener, right? How can I make sure that every episode I get the most value out of the guest, right? And that requires, education and learning and research. And, it's not super in depth, right? I have a pretty quick process. I can typically learn what I need to learn in 5-10 minutes max for an episode. but still, I've honed in that process so that I can add value. And, I want to, of course, add value and bring value to my investors as well. And that's going to mean doing all of the heavy lifting so that by the time they see a deal, it's already gone through that process and no longer, and isn't going to require them to go through with a fine-tooth comb because I've already done that. So all of that relates full circle to discipline, because I have to stay disciplined in, my process and building my network and talking to people, and obviously, showing up for the podcast and for the guests. And so I have a ton on my plate. And so because there's so much on my plate, like if you guys saw my weekly calendars, it fills up, right? I have full days of, especially podcast recording days. My mornings are gone on Tuesdays and Thursdays because I record 4 episodes right in a row, 9, 10, 11, and 12, boom. Right. So by lunchtime, it's great because, I can take a breath finally, get some lunch. I usually go outside, no joke, and just sit in the sun for like 10 to 15 minutes and just recharge, no phone. But my days are busy, right? And then it's usually phone calls or tasks. And so teaching myself discipline has been so, so important because, like, of course, I'd much rather sit on my phone or, go lay by the pool or, do other things, but I have to stay focused. And especially on those podcast days, it can be hard, right? Because, 4 straight podcasts, that's a solid day, but there's still so much work that needs to be done. And so, I've really started honing in on my discipline to make sure I'm disciplined. And that's why the 5:37 and the cold shower and, doing that process, even if I don't want to do it, because then it just sets the tone for the rest of the day. And when those tasks come up that you don't really want to do, you can really push past that initial, like, oh, I don't want to do this, so much faster. And so that kind of brings me to the end of the day, right? And looking back through your day and really deciding if you had a good day or a bad day, or if you're happy with your day. And of all people, I came across, so I'm on TikTok. I'm sure I've mentioned that before. One of the few 31-year-olds. Well, actually, you guys, I'm going to be 32 in literally a week from today, which is Thursday. I'm recording this on Thursday. So next Thursday, August 4th. So not many 30, that's not true. There are a lot of 32-year-olds, but in my circle, there are not many people my age on TikTok. Anyways, tangent there. Shameless plug for my birthday. And Mike Posner, of all people, who, if you guys, I'm sure you guys remember Mike Posner. He had a couple like hit songs. One song I remember, Drug Dealer Girl. And then, he kind of like fell off the face. And if you guys look him up, shout out to Mike Posner. He is like all about healing and energy and really a lot of things that I'm into. Mental health. You guys know I'm a huge advocate for mental health, especially in men. He also is. He walked across the country in 2019. He summited Everest last year. He just did a 2-week, no technology, went for 2 weeks, no technology, not even running water or electricity, couldn't make music, couldn't write music, literally just for 2 weeks, sat by himself, didn't interact with anyone. Like, this guy is really exploring. And I posted on my Instagram story. You can follow me on Instagram at Jonny Cattani, and you can see it. And he talks to, I'm gonna have to look up who he talks to, but basically what he's talking about is he's talking about deciding whether a day is good or bad. And he talks to Tom Bellew, who is the co-founder and host of Impact Theory, a pretty well-known entrepreneur. And Mike is discussing what makes a good day and a bad day. He's like, or a day right or wrong. He says right or wrong. And he's like, could it be that we determine if a day is right or wrong because we have some preconceived notion about what a right day is? And all of this goes into don't put so much pressure on how much you accomplish. Now, again, if you're an entrepreneur, you want to be successful, it takes a lot of work, more work than I even anticipated. There are days where I definitely bit off more than I can chew, but mama didn't raise no quitter. So that's not really how I like that saying to go, but we're going to keep it PG. So, there are a lot of days where I feel overwhelmed, but at the end of the day, one thing I really try to do is not put any sort of pressure or shame on myself for whether or not I accomplished as much as I thought I should accomplish. Right. And that's why tasks are so important, and even blocking off your calendar. Shout out to Hunter Thompson. I learned this in Raise Masters. I will literally put, if I need to go onto the Instagram page, I try to, like, for the podcast, or if I need to do anything with social media, I try to like actually put it into my calendar as a task for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is, and be like, okay, for that time, that's what I'm doing. And that's okay. Right. So that it's not sporadic throughout the day. And that's definitely one thing I need to get better at, is not just randomly going on my phone. Started putting it away so it's not even in my eyesight, and what a difference that makes. But basically setting up tasks so that, and whether or not you want to put in your calendar, for me, that seems to be the best. Some people write it down, write big, like I'm a notebook person as well. I like to write stuff down, and just basically setting up the task and then accomplishing it and being like, great, that's what I wanted to accomplish today. And that's it. And if you don't get to everything because one thing took longer, just don't think of it as a wrong day. Like, oh, today went wrong. No, today went how today was supposed to go. And right or wrong is a feeling, an emotion, right? And emotions aren't anything. What defines emotion is the actions we take based on that emotion. That determines whether that was a good or bad emotion, right? Obviously I went to that self-storage academy a few weeks ago, and I was having a conversation. We had, on the second night, we did kind of a cocktail thing, and it got super heavy. And I think I talked about this, where people got up there and were full on crying. And I was brought to tears a couple of times. And later a few of us were chatting, and, one guy was like, yeah, like crying's good, but sometimes you got to suck it up, because where I grew up, the pipe wasn't going to move itself. If you grew up on a farm, you understand what moving pipe is. And it's basically just moving sprinkler pipe to a different part of the field so that a new part of the field can get watered. So, and where I challenged him is, I said, yeah, but why is crying have to be associated with making you soft? To me, in my opinion, I think emotions make you stronger. Someone who's not afraid to show emotion, that means you literally cannot bring that person down. Like, you can't do anything to bring that person down, because they are not afraid to show emotion and be themselves. And that means they're going to cry about something. They're going to cry about it. Right. And so we need to get away from this idea that there's right and a wrong and a good and a bad. It's really how you feel. And if you feel that you accomplished a lot in a day, then you did. And that's okay. And some days you're going to do way more than you do on other days. And don't let yourself feel like a day where you accomplished way more than you thought you were going to as the bar for what you need to do every day, because that's just not realistic. So that's my spiel. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk about discipline. My morning routine is not special. You can listen to pretty much any entrepreneur. Most of them have the same. I got mine from Tony Robbins. I think he actually wakes up a little earlier, and I would like to eventually start getting there. One thing I've been noticing, and you guys, I've only been doing this for like a week and a half, maybe. I already, like this morning, my body woke me up at 5:24, and I took the time to give my dog some love, took my alarm went off, and then I popped up and we were at it. So it really does work. And the cold shower thing, like I said, is really just about the principle. And it actually is really good for your brain and really gets you charged up for the day. And I find that I don't really need coffee anymore either. I've always been kind of a natural, energetic person. Shout out to anxiety for that. Got natural energy. But anyway, that's my spiel. And again, you guys, thank you so much for listening. Super, super grateful. Oh, that's the other thing I want to bring up. This is the one downside of firing off the hip. Sometimes I forget, but I literally just hit 1,500 downloads. That is amazing, you guys. Thank you so, so much. I'm so grateful. I think I just announced 1,000 this morning, and in the same day we hit 1,500. That's in part because I've finally brought on a team of people to start promoting the podcast and really getting it out there so we can start really getting the name out there and getting some listeners. And of course, spreading the message and getting it out there. Listen, millennials, I want you guys on my side. This is a really, really incredible opportunity. We have an awesome opportunity coming up with this dip we're experiencing. There's going to be more and more opportunity. And I hope that you guys will join me in this beautiful, beautiful investment vehicle we call real estate. So thank you guys so much for listening. You're awesome. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, rate, review, up, down, left, right, A, B, all the things. Have a wonderful weekend. Be safe. It's hot still. Stay cool out there. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching today's episode. I hope you really enjoyed it. Listen, I know it's cliche and you hear it all the time, but please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you know when the next video is coming out. Even though this is technically a daily podcast, you know it's coming out the next day. We have a ton of content coming your way. So please like and subscribe. It helps a ton. Leave comments. Would love to know what you guys think. And we will see you on the next one. Thanks so much.